Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here, and welcome back to part 2 of my look at Journey to the Overland, focusing on the second edition. And in this episode, I'm going to do a kind of a character creation, I guess, and talk just a little bit about the game in general, how I would approach the game. I'm not sure if I'm going to spend a lot of time playing this game because I've kind of come to a realization that I don't think this game is for me personally, at least not right now. And the reason for that is that Journey to the Overland, I think, is a game that benefits greatly from it being maybe like your one and only game. I think this is a game that you need to devote a lot of time into to get the most out of. Unfortunately, with me, with the way that I need to play a lot of games, keep things, coming on and off the table for the channel, and just the way that I enjoy playing different games, I don't think that I have the time to devote to this game that it requires. But that's not to say that I don't think it is an interesting game with a lot of unique ideas and some really neat concepts for creating adventures. Another reason why I don't think that this game is really for me is it doesn't provide enough direction. And some people really thrive on that. I am of the opinion that I like a little bit more direction into what I'm actually supposed to be doing. If I were to put this game on a spectrum of other kind of solo RPG-ish dungeon crawl adventure games, you have something like Four Against Darkness or D100 Dungeon, where I think D100 Dungeon is kind of in that sweet spot of kind of openness, letting you do what you want, whereas this is a little bit too freeform, where you really do need to be your own solo GM, your own solo dungeon master, game master in this game. And I'm just not sure that that's something that I really want to do right now, but I am still having fun poking at this game, learning about it, and seeing what it has to offer, because it's unique. That's the best thing I can say for this game, is I've never really seen another game like this one. So let's say that I was going to play a character, and I wanted to start my character. Here we have your character sheet here. So you have your name, your starting location. You can keep track of your last game location. You have a number of different stats. So you have ability, muscle, agility, presence, luck, wisdom, endurance. You have a number of experience points that correlates to your level. And then the number of experience points that you have, or the level that you have, that also dictates how many experience points you have to spend on certain like skills and traits and abilities and that kind of thing. You want to keep track of how many combats you have. You can keep track of your gold and silver. The prices of items are often, they're listed in either gold or silver. Gold is usually used for more expensive, bigger things. Silver is used for kind of like more daily, mundane things. You want to keep track of how many meals you have, your fighting damage, what your level is, how many people you have killed, and like if you are having a salary or wages, you can keep track of your stuff there. And then you have a really basic section here to keep track of your weapons, your melee weapons, your missile weapons, your kind of armor, and their various stats. Okay, and then you're going to have some other sheets here where you can keep track of all your possessions, your skills, your magic skills, different jewelry, the value of the things that you own. And then you also have here where you can keep track of any property or hexes that you own, areas or places that you have visited, some notes, maybe how long you've stayed there, different occupations and jobs you've had, personal or rented homes, items left there. So you can have homes and you can like leave items at your various homes. You could have ships, and they could have the different types of ships. There is naval combat in this game. And then you also can print out these journal pages where you can keep track of the day, the week, and the month that it is, the year that it is, and different events that might have occurred on that day. And I think, yes, finally we have our NPC followers. So it is easy to hire people or to meet people in this game that will want to follow you for a certain amount of time or as long as you pay them. And so you can keep track of any of your NPCs that you have in your party on this sheet there. So somebody did mention that this game kind of seems like the exact opposite of the kind of game that I have been looking at recently, games that abstract a lot of the minutia out. And this game dives head first into detail. So you can see that it's just quite a bit different than the things I've been looking at lately. I think it is a modular design, and I think it's probably pretty easy to just kind of pick and choose the things you want to engage with in the game. And the game does something that I call mirroring. And it's interesting in how the player's experience mirrors that of the character's experience, especially when both are new to the game. And what I mean by that is, like, as a new adventurer, as a young character in this game, not knowing what lies out in the Overland, not knowing what lies over the horizon, what is in store for my life as an adventurer, I am in the same exact boat as a player in this game, because you really don't even know how to play the game when you start the game. I think it is a game that is best experienced while you are learning, and you learn the game while you are experiencing the game. And so as you dive into the game, there's going to be a lot of mistakes you're going to make as you're discovering the rules as you're going. And I think that's okay. I think that's the kind of game it is. At least that's how I would imagine most people approach it. I think if you tried to learn everything about the game before you played it, by the time you got done doing that, you probably would have forgotten the first half of the stuff that you learned, unless you were keeping a super detailed notebook of all the things you've learned, but then you would basically just be transcribing the rules from one book to another. So just know that going in of this game, if after I've talked about the game on these maybe 2 or 3 videos, if it seems like something you're interested in exploring, just know that. So I've kind of thought about my character a little bit, and the way that I've done that is I've kind of looked at the book and looked through the table of contents and read through the book, read through some of the background, and just kind of picked a couple things that sound interesting to me. And like I was saying in the first video, one thing that sounded interesting to me was joining the Pirate Guild. Because for a game that's called the Overland, and a game that's an Overland crawl, there is a surprisingly large amount of this book devoted to the Pirate Guild and devoted to traversing the seas and having ships and that kind of thing. And you guys know that I'm always on the search for just a fantastic fantasy themed pirate game. I love nautical themed fantasy, and that's kind of a recent discovery of mine, that I've noticed that how much I am just kind of in love with nautical themed fantasy, and how much I constantly lament the fact that Skull Tales is not a great game, because it's the game that I kind of like really want to be the best. So I wanted to approach my character here as being a young Overlander. So he's a native to this world. The Overlanders are going to start in the King's Castle. They start in like the capital of the area. But he is tired of this kind of stodgy life of being amongst royalty and the well-to-do, and he wants to go off and try to join the Pirate Guild and live the life of a thief pirate. And so that's kind of what I would want to plan my character to be. And that was just by looking at like the table of contents and looking for interesting things to read about, and then taking those things and running with it. So I think that is a good approach to making a character in this game. That way you kind of have a little bit of direction. And so if we look at our quick start guide, the first thing you want to do is you want to roll your for your 7 stats, and that would be ability, muscle, agility, presence, luck, wisdom, and endurance, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. And so what you do is you take your D10. We're going to use the reds as 10s here. And then you're going to consult your starting characteristics modifier table. So that's going to kind of govern the the ranges of your rolls. So we're going to roll for 7 times. Oh, holy crap, 95. All right, so 95, between 91 and 100, you subtract 5. All right, so we're going to have a 90 to distribute. That is fantastic. And a 47. A 47, we're going to add 10. So we have a 57. A 100. Oh my gosh, you guys are experiencing like the best. The best rolls I've ever had in a game. A 95. Okay, maybe I do want to play this game because this character might be amazing. Let's see, 83. All right, so 83, we're going to add 0. 3 more. Okay, 20. There we go. 20, we're going to add 20. So as you can see, if you roll really low, you do bump that up to a nice moderate range. And we're going to have, so that's going to be a 40. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. 2. Okay, there. That's more like it. But a 2, we're going to add 20, so that's going to be a 22. All right, and then last one here, 31. All right, so 31, we're going to add 15, so that's going to be 46 there. Okay, so now we can distribute those stats as we see fit. Now, your ability score, that's kind of like how good you are at just doing a number of things, and especially in combat. And I have a feeling that being a thief pirate, I'm going to want to have a pretty high, I'm going to say luck, agility, and ability. So I'm going to go ahead and score my ability as a 95. I'm going to score my agility as a 90. I'm going to score my luck as an 83. I'm going to score my endurance as a 57 because that's kind of like your life. I'm going to score my, I'm going to say my presence is a 22. And then I'm going to put a 46 in my muscle and a 40 in my wisdom. And so that kind of gives you your character's traits there. We do start with some gold. So you start off with 75 gold pieces, according to the instructions here, and 100 silver pieces. So that gives you your money that you can spend at the beginning of the game before your first adventure, before you set out. Okay, so let's see here. Now the next thing you do, now it does have a description of your stats. So muscle is a measurement of your character's strength and his ability to perform feats of physical strength. Agility is your character's overall speed, grace, and mobility, and it also dictates who goes first in combat. Presence is your charm, wit, influence, quickness of mind. I may have wanted to have a larger presence, but I'm going to say that I'm just kind of like a greenhorn going out there, and I don't really know what I'm talking about now, and I'm kind of naive, so that kind of makes sense for this character. Wisdom is a measure of your character's overall intelligence and mental ability. And then you've got luck. This is the loose measure of your character's chance of surviving dangerous situations. Endurance is your character's lifeline. It is used to measure the effects of wounds and determine your current health. If your endurance ever reaches 0, you will usually die. And if you reach 10 or less, you are considered to be unconscious. So endurance is kind of like your hit points, your measure of life. And your ability is the character's base score for performing, handling, and executing normal or advanced actions, as in combat. So then you get over to your racial traits, and you can be a human, an elf, a dwarf, a halfling, or an overlander. And the overlander is the character I'm going to play. They are the natives to this land. So overlanders are the native demi-human inhabitants of Overland. They have enhanced mental abilities, which add a 10 to their initial presence and wisdom scores. Okay, so I do get a little bit more presence. So we're going to add 10 to presence, which brings that up to 32, and wisdom, which brings that up to 50. All right. And then let's see. Overlanders can never get lost unless their wisdom score drops below 50. Oh, wow. So that was a lucky bonus there. So bringing my wisdom score up to 50 means that right now I cannot get lost. So I can travel the land without having to roll to get lost as I go into new and different types of terrain. So that's really nice. Let's see. Native Overlanders do not suffer any negative modifiers when traveling in the Dark Men's domain. I have no idea what that is. Overlanders subtract 10 from their initial endurance and ability scores. Okay, so endurance goes down to 47. So they're not the hardiest of races. And ability. So my ability actually goes down to 85. That's still pretty good because everything in this game, like I've said before, is a percentile chance. So this will dictate your percentile chance of how good. So you want to roll low and you want to roll your ability score or under to perform a certain task. So an 85% chance of doing cool things is pretty good. Let's see. And I have a special ability called Mind Marking. Overlanders must roll 1d100 for their percent score with this ability. Okay, so let's write that down here on skills. Let's write Mind Marking. So this is kind of an innate psychic ability that I have. And we're going to see what my score is on that. 32%. So I have a 32% chance to perform an ability called Mind Marking. Overlanders may attack any character other than another Overlander with this Mind Marker. If he possesses a check, he does an amount of damage equal to his Mind Marker percent score divided by 10, rounded down. So that would be 3 damage that I could do to using this kind of like psychic attack. The damage lasts for 7 days unless healed by magic. A special item, a native Overlander can attack the same person repeatedly, but their muscle or agility score can never be reduced. Okay. Let's see here. I also have a 50% chance to do King's Castle magic. So each of the towns has a certain school of magic that you can learn. And being an Overlander, starting in the King's Castle, I know all of their spells at a 50% chance. So I will go ahead and write those off camera because we don't need to look at those in detail right now. Okay, let's see. We're going to pick a name. So the race is the Overlander. What is this character's name? My character is going to be named Janice. I don't know what my last name is yet. He is an Overlander. How about 2 J's? Janice Jarland. All right, Janice Jarland, Overlander. Oh, put that on player name. That should be down there. Starting location is King's Castle. And then if we look back here also, we can see our fighting damage. Fist fighting for our muscle score. Our muscle score was only 46, so we're at 2 damage for fist fighting. I am at level 1. Starting at level 1, I believe you have 5,000 XPs to spend. So here is your XP chart. And this is going to kind of dictate on this page here. You're going to have all of the experience points you get for dictating your level for different things that you're going to do. So you get 1,000 XPs for if you kill an opponent. You get 1,000 XPs if you kill an opponent in a fist fight. You get 1,000 XPs for killing a warden. Basically, for killing anything, almost you get 1,000 XPs. I don't know why it's broken out so minutely there. But then you get 200 experience points for spending a week on a job or a week hunting, visiting towns. So you get a whole bunch of different things that will give you experience points. For every 1,000 gold pieces you acquire, you get experience points. For every skill that you learn, sinking another ship, learning an advanced skill. So there's all kinds of ways to learn and to gain experience in the game. And then that translates to your level. 0 to 30,000. I like he really inflated the numbers here. 0 to 30,000, you're considered level 1, and you have 5,000 XPs to spend. So I'm going to write that 5,000, and I have 0 experience points right now. I've done 0 combats. I need to buy some food. So the next thing I can do is I can go ahead and purchase weapons and food and supplies. And I will do that off camera and come back and let you know what I purchased. Okay, so here are all of the items I bought. I spent 90 gold and 52 silver. So I have a short sword, which gives me a +7 to my ability when I use that to make an attack. It does 5 damage. I have a small round shield, which will give me a +10 when I use it for defense. I bought some leather armor, which absorbs at a minimum of 7, maximum of 28. And then I also bought for some just some equipment. I bought some torches, a backpack, a sleeping bag, and rope. And then all of those are going to be detailed, telling you exactly what they do here. So when you buy those kinds of items, you're going to want to just look and make sure they do what you think they are going to do. So we've purchased our weapons, food, and supplies. I also bought 4 days worth of food. One thing that we can also do is we can roll up a little background using this chart here. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see what a little additional background we have. 6. A disaster survivor. You have recently survived a horrible disaster in your district. You believe the king could have prevented it, and as a result, you have vowed that you won't ever let your people go through anything like that again. You are leaving today, having vowed to return one day. All right, so I'm mad at the king for not taking care of his people. I'm going to go out, become a thief, pirate, and return to take my revenge. Okay, so we can purchase some traits and some skills. I don't think I'm going to do that now. I did want to take a kind of a more detailed look at the pirate guild so you guys can see just how crazy kind of detailed some of the guilds can get and some of the things that you can participate in while you are playing the game here. All right, so we have the pirate guild here. This is really cool. While the Wardens Guild, the Wardens are kind of like magic users, maybe the only sanctioned guild in King Harbor, it is not the only guild. Another even more secretive guild exists there in the form of the Pirate Guild. As the name implies, the Pirate Guild is reserved exclusively for pirates or would-be pirates. However, since pirate is not an official class or profession in the Overland, the only way to become a pirate is by joining the guild. And you have a chance to join the guild when you go there. You have to audition. You have to do certain things. You have to become a thief or an admiral. You have to have no less than 3 warrants for your arrest. So you can get arrested in this game. There are trials. You can get thrown in jail. And then once you do that, you can get a meeting. Once you do a certain number of these things that to audition for the guild, you have to must have traveled through or over at least 100 sea hexes. So that means I'm gonna have to get a boat somehow and start just traveling out at sea. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do while you're at sea. But then you can get an audience with the guild master, and then you have to roll on this table here, and you have to replace one of the people in the guild, and that means you have to fight them and kill them in combat to take their place. That's how you become a member of the Pirates Guild. And that is just super cool. And then you get all these bonuses. You get the benefits of the guild. You have access to all these like firearms. You can become a scallywag. You can go to Witch Rock, which is like a secret pirate haven. You can just get different kinds of flags, hidden strike. You can learn pirate lore, go on treasure hunts. You can start your own hidden lair. You can get a parrot or a monkey pet. So yeah, all kinds of cool stuff there to become a pirate. So that's kind of like my main goal. All right, so let's see, we lay out the core map, we separate our encounter cards and everything, and then we begin play. So we begin play as our adventurer, our Overlander here, and he starts in his home territory of King's Castle. So that's where we would start playing. The one thing you want to do is, of course, you want to have your calendar out and you want to mark off your first day of your first week. And one of the first things you're going to want to do is you are going to want to draw an event for the week to see what kind of stuff is going to happen this week. And we have a fox hunt. All right, the king has announced a royal fox hunt. All level 2 or higher characters may proceed. Okay, well, I'm level 1, so we can ignore the event for this week, which is a fox hunt. If that comes up again, we will look at that in greater detail. All right, so then you want to draw your weather for the day. What kind of weather are we having in the Overland? Let's see here. Storms at sea. All right, well, if I was a pirate out at sea, this would probably be bad. Storms rage at sea. All, all vessels. Again, some of the text is really hard to read. All vessels must -2 from their movement rate. All right, so if you were out at sea, you would have a hard time getting around. This could be a bad card to have as a pirate, but right now I am a landlubber and I am in the King's Castle, safe and sound, away from the storms raging out at sea. So then we have to pick what we want to do on our first day of being an adventurer in the Overland. And those things we can do are, of course, rest to heal wounds. We don't need to do that. We could travel. We could engage in battle. These will usually occur in a war where troops, you have like large troop battles. We can do a town activity. We can go to work. We can seek a job. I think I'm going to travel eventually to King's Harbor to seek some jobs there. We can build or repair something, or we can practice or train. So one thing I want to do is I want to try to gather some news and information, because that might give me some direction of something else to pursue in the game. So you want to go to where you are, your town activities on page 268. And this is going to start telling you all the different things you can do and encounter in the town. So if you are new to town, I am not new to this town because this is my hometown. So whenever a human, so there are different races will have their different hometowns. I am not new here, so I would not have to roll on this new to town table. But if I was, you would have to roll to see what kind of reception you have in a home. You still do have to pay for lodging in your home if you're going to stay the night here. So I am staying the night in the town because you can only do one thing on a day. And so I am going to have to pay my fees. Characters who stay overnight, you must pay 10 silver for lodging. So I'm going to go ahead and deduct my 10 silver right now just so I don't forget. So that takes me down to 38 silver. So now I am staying in King's Castle for the night. And then, yeah, like I said, you can have warrants out for your arrest. You can get arrested. You can go to jail. You can have trials at day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and your sentencing at your trial. Pretty creative. If not, you can be executed in the game. That is quite harsh there. I hope I never get arrested. And then we have news or information. So in this section, your character travels about the town or castle he is in, seeking what news or information he can find. You spend a day gathering news and information. You must pay 10 silver for the information fee. So that's going to take me down to 28 silver. And if this is your first time in the town, you subtract -5 from your roll. If you have been here before, this is my hometown, so I have been here before, so I'm going to add 5 to my roll. And then I find the section that details the town that I am in, which is King's Castle. So let me find the King's Castle news and information here. Let's see, where is that? Elf Mountain. So there's a lot of stuff. This is kind of where kind of like the bulk of the narrative gameplay is in these news and information. So you don't want to read this section before you want to find out what you know, just to keep things good, keep things exciting. So we're going to add 5 to this. All right, so we have 26, so we're going to go to 31. The Royal Library. You receive a free 1-day pass to the Royal Library. You may use this pass whenever you wish, but must spend a daily action visiting the library. For each day you spend at the Royal Library, you must have a separate pass for each. You may increase your wisdom score by +1 up to a maximum of +10. Okay, that's pretty cool. So I can go to the Royal Library when I want. So I'm going to go ahead and write that on my possession. I have a 1-day library pass for King's Castle, so I can use that when I want to. Okay, so that satisfies that day's worth of action. It is now nighttime. I am sleeping, and I paid for lodging, so I don't have to worry about getting robbed or anything. And then it would be day 2. Now, we've already drawn our event for the week, so we don't need to draw another event. We do need to see what the weather is like. So I wake up to strong winds after a storm at sea. Strong winds, brisk strong winds. Roll on the random direction chart. If you travel in the direction rolled, you may add +2 to your movement rate. Okay, so it could help me if I have a backwind, a wind at my tail pushing me along. Now there are a bunch of charts, and you can go to Cheatography. It's a website, and you can download a listing kind of all the charts in the game. And so there is a chart for random directions. So let's see which way the wind is blowing. 7. The wind is blowing towards the southeast. Okay, so north is up, so the wind is actually blowing in this direction here. But we are traveling from King's Castle to King's Harbor, so we are traveling northeast. And so the wind is not going to help us, but it's also not going to hurt us. There are different kinds of weather. It's like fog and mud and different kinds of rain and ice, and those things might hinder your movement. But as of right now, we have no hindered movement, which means we can move 2 hexes in a day on foot. And so the first thing you want to do is when you're setting out is you need to roll to see if you are going to have an encounter. And the encounter table is, I thought I had marked it out here though. It is a random encounter chance. Where is that table? Percent encounter table, page 89. Okay, so we are going to be moving from the King's Castle into a new terrain, which is a open land or plains. So that gives us a 75% chance of having an encounter. And we rolled a 29, which means we have an encounter, which means we draw the top card of the encounter deck. And let's see what we find. Okay, the Northern Hunting Camp. Level 2, number present 3. Ahead there is a camp. They are very fond of music, and if you are a courtesan and approach them, NPC reaction check, and they accept you, any positive roll, you will be allowed to travel with them, playing for them each night after the evening meal. If you pass a skill check after playing, they will pay you 25 gold. They are going to Igloo. Okay, Igloo is a town up here in the harsh winter north, so we are not going up there. They are trying to go to Igloo. You can stay till they reach it. They will handle any combat from encounters, and you can leave them if you wish. If you get a negative roll on the NPC reaction, they will tell you to bug off. Other than courtesans, all other characters make regular NPC reaction check when encountering this group. However, they will not join you unless you are heading to Igloo. So they're not really going to do anything bad towards us if we fail our encounter check. Let's go ahead and make a roll on the table just so you can kind of see what that is like. So we have our NPC reaction table. So if you meet an NPC and you don't have any bonuses or any way to deal with them without a random roll, you're going to roll here. And we rolled a 26, which is a negative result. NPC is hostile. They will attack and fight for 4 rounds, but this card overrides that. It just says they tell you to bug off. Okay, so they don't want us going to their camp, so we don't need to worry about that encounter card there. But there are different results. Sometimes the NPC will like you and they will join your party. They will be indifferent to you and that kind of thing. So these cards in conjunction with this and the encounter tables will kind of dictate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, so we would just be moving out, and that's kind of how we would start our adventure. Moving on now at our next day, 1, 2, we are moving towards King's Harbor. We're maybe hoping to get some information about the Pirates Guild. Start working on, we could look at that list of the things that we have to do to audition for the Pirates Guild, start working on those things, start gaining experience, start building some wealth to hopefully buy some better gear, maybe to buy a home in King's Harbor. So we have a better chance of just having this be our base or something like that. And so yeah, that's a little more of an in-depth introduction and look at Journey to the Overland. This has been a long video. Like I said, I'm not sure that this is a game for me. There's a lot to it. It is a super in-depth game where you could spend hours and days and months. I just from what I've played so far, from what I've read, from what I've watched, from the things I know about this game, I think you would have to spend like a month of serious playing to really get the most out of this game. Maybe at one point in my gaming life, in my career, I will have that time to spend. But the nature of the way I'm playing games now, the nature of the channel, I don't think I do. I don't think this is a game that is good for just kind of picking up, dabbling in, and putting away. You want to be able to build your adventuring momentum. You want to be able to build up your journal and keep a detailed record of the things that are happening, because that's really where the storytelling and the sense of adventure is done, is on the paper after you've experienced it, after you've connected your dots and written your little story, and just kind of developing the things as they go. And I really do think that takes a dedication and a focus that I just don't have the luxury of being able to afford right now. But it is a game that I'm going to keep in my collection. It's kind of one of those like retirement games, right? It's like one of those things you keep like, when I have the time, I'm going to devote like a month to just playing Journey to the Overland and see what happens. So, all right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at Journey to the Overland. I hope I showed you some of the neat things that you can do. You know, some of the, maybe whetted some of your appetites, maybe pushed some people away, which is totally fine. I know there are some things that do push people away from this game. The depth, the directionless kind of gameplay, some of the, you know, like Dino commented on the last video, some of the Judeo-Christian overtones or undertones have definitely pushed some people away, and I understand that. I do think it's a little odd that the game is calling out that you can only have heterosexual marriage. That's not something that I personally agree with in real life. And I think that maybe my character might want to overthrow the king to do away with that law and establish a more inclusive laws in the Overland. That's one thing that I was thinking about doing. But yeah, it's a unique game. And for a certain person, I think it's going to really hit a certain spot. But I think that niche is probably pretty small. But if you are looking for something like this, there really isn't anything else that I know of that approaches what this game is doing and what this game is trying to do. So all right guys, well, take it easy. We will talk to you later. Bye bye.